Hi, my name is Sarah Smith. I'm running for Congress in Washington State's 9th District.
So I worked for Citigroup right when in 2009 through 2010, so right when a lot of people were coming out and declaring bankruptcy and they couldn't stay in their homes and trying to find foreclosure assistance. So I worked pretty much at the height of foreclosure in America. I met, over the phone really, I met a lot of people and spoke to a lot of people who were just good, hardworking individuals who wanted to just keep a roof over their head and who wound up in a bad situation that wasn't their fault. And I think that we let big banks gamble and lose enough with our fortunes, enough with our savings, with our college funds. We let them gamble enough. They already showed they can't be trusted to make positive decisions for people by trading all the bad mortgages they were trading. A particular story that comes to mind is I actually was working on helping this woman. She was a single mother of 3, and she was a nurse, and she was working. She had just gotten back into the working world after her divorce from her husband. She told me her whole life story, and her mortgage payment became too much for her to bear. She lost her job. Even as a nurse, she was unemployed, and she didn't know what to do. She had 3 kids. She was the sole income provider, and to me, she was scraping by doing some side work and things like that, but she wasn't taking home a real salary. And I was hit really hard by her circumstance. And when I plugged everything into the tool we were using, it kept denying her for this repayment plan, but I knew she met the parameters. So we're not supposed to do this at the time, but I told her I would give her a call back, and so I disconnected my phone. I actually ended up calling directly to the Fannie Mae representative that coordinated with Citigroup at the time, and I had the representative actually come out to our site and put her information in and do a manual override, because he agreed with me. He didn't know what was going on, but the tool errored out, and she should have qualified and never did. So he was actually able to override it and get her to the program, and they let me call her back and be the one to tell her. And I remember it was like a 3-day process, and she said she started to cry on the phone about how she was waiting with bated breath and how she was just so grateful that someone actually went the extra mile. And it hit me so hard that I tried to make sure for the rest of my working life I'm always going the extra mile, because I never know what person I'm going to interact with next that's going to get hit hard by something and need someone just to care a little bit more. And that's really important to me as a person. It's important to me in how I work. It's important in how I approach the world. But that's how I want to approach this kind of legislation, is how is this going to affect the nurse with 3 kids who's a single mom? How is this going to affect those working people in the end? And then I took a break from that because I realized I wasn't happy in those fields, and I needed to do something better, and I wanted to do better. I wanted to do something that had a positive and meaningful impact on people. So I took a job at a small business. I love helping out a local business owner. I love being a part of that environment. And then the opportunity arose to run for Congress. And I figured what better way to help people than to the ultimate ask, right?
I've always been politically active. I come from a very political family. Got lots of cool stories about my dad. He actually helped pen the legislation that brought a single-payer healthcare to Ireland. And I've always done voter drives. I helped participate in anti-war activism during high school after the Iraq War started. I've been pretty involved with volunteer work through Planned Parenthood, through the Humane Society. We organized food drives for my old company, and I was on their volunteer board and everything like that. So I've got a lot of volunteer experience and a lot of legal experience. So we talk about things like Medicare for All and universal college and things like that. And the question everyone always talks about is, oh, well, there's no money for that. Let me tell you, 60% of that $1 billion budget goes to private contracting companies off of our taxpayer dollars. So we're sending mercenaries out because we're involved in so many goddamn wars. And when they finally hammered out the budget, it was actually closer to $800 billion. And Adam Smith said, this is a good budget. No, it's not. If that doesn't include universal single-payer Medicare for all the people, debt-free education, revitalization of our infrastructure, expanding grant programs so we have municipal internet and be done with this net neutrality garbage, that's not a good budget. I don't care what else is in it. It is not a good budget if it does nothing for the people. And I am so sick and tired of this argument about not having enough money. Adam Smith is a 21-year sitting incumbent that has done pretty much nothing. He's never fought for progressive values. He's been a self-described moderate. He's voted in favor of every bad trade deal except for CAFTA. He's a war hawk. He's very comfortable with the war industry. He takes thousands of their dollars, and he talks about, oh, we need to increase troop salaries, but he doesn't talk about cutting the 60% of that military budget that goes towards private contractors, who are conveniently also the companies who donate to his campaign. He votes in favor of increasing the military budget, and then he talks about how he voted against one of the Appropriations Acts, and he says, oh, where are we going to get this money? Oh, I can tell you, because you voted in favor of increasing it. It's going to come from Social Security and education. You just don't want to say it, and you don't want to own it. And after 21 years, he's suddenly saying he's now a progressive. As of his August 4th town hall 2017, after 21 years of self-described moderacy, he's all of a sudden a progressive, and he's all of a sudden in favor of Medicare for all. Where were you in 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up until this year? Where were you? Adam had a chance to represent his very progressive district. We swung in the caucuses 72% for Bernie Sanders. He had his opportunity and his golden chance to demonstrate, I'm going to vote with my district, and he is a superdelegate. He could have superdelegated for Bernie Sanders like his district wanted him to, but instead he said, and the TLDR version of it is basically, I don't have to do what the voters say, I'm not bound to that, it's more important that I do what the party wants. And he voted for Hillary Clinton. He showed that he's not actually going to stand up for progressive values. Of course it's easy for him to say he's progressive now when he's not actually going to have to hold fast to those values with a Republican-controlled House and Senate and presidency. It's easy to say he's a progressive right now because he doesn't actually have to do the work. But when he did have the chance, he did nothing. In 2008, when he had the chance to be a voice for all progressive values and we had the House, Senate, and presidency, Adam Smith said and did nothing.